Welcome to the Journey of a Man podcast with your host, Trey Jordan. This podcast was created for men to talk about our journey in life, which ultimately determines who we are or will become. The obstacles we face are real and often will derail us from our desired destinations. This podcast gives us a platform to express ourselves about the journey we have experienced, our upbringing, relationships, marriages, fatherhood, careers, finances, loss of loved one, spirituality, divorce, and co-parenting. Hopefully bridging our support for one another while respecting and uplifting other men and women. The trajectory for men must change, and together we can create a pathway to success. My next guest, Rodney West, actually known as West, a native Washingtonian who grew up in Northeast DC, Brentwood, Montana area. He was educated in the public school system, attended Coolidge Senior High School, and graduated college at Norfolk State University, majoring in communications with a minor in theater arts. After graduating college, West worked in the corporate America arena while still pursuing an acting career, accepting background or extra roles. In 2001, West began working with the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority as a bus operator and station manager. During his tenure with Metro, it afforded him multiple promotional opportunities until he retired with 20 and a half years of service. West has been married for 22 years with twin sons, one daughter, and three grandsons. Multiple trajectories changed his course, and he committed himself to live his best healthy life and transform his mind and temple. West enjoys supporting events and organizations in the DMV and giving back to the community through charitable acts. He continued to pursue his acting career, traveling to New York and Los Angeles, doing extra roles in television dramas, FBI, Most Wanted, Law and Order, and comedy series The Last OG and voiceover animation for Nickelodeon's The Loud House. With the recent passing of his mom, Carolyn, West says, quote, I will continue to live my life to its fullest, like my mom would expect. Wow, bruh. Reason why, West, and again, man, I appreciate you accepting this invite. I'm hoping that we can at least reach one, right? If we
Yes,
reach one, we
absolutely.
good. Um, Reason why I have this platform, West, because I want to acknowledge my brothers while they're above ground. I want to
Yes,
acknowledge what you guys are doing. I want to acknowledge who you are. I want to even acknowledge our shortcomings and our trajectories, and because our trajectories really does dictate who we all will become in life.
absolutely,
Ultimately,
absolutely.
right before the good Lord call us home,
Yes,
we are who we are. We want to get better for sure, and just through life, Wes, I see a lot that disturbed me that allowed me to start this podcast, right?
yes,
Seeing
yeah,
our young men out here in the street, lost. And what I mean by
yeah,
that is this: our brothers don't show each other love. They ready to hurt. They ready to damage, kill, maim,
yes, yeah.
whatever. They ready to do all this harm instead of trying to help and uplift one another, right?
I
You see
agree.
our
I
brothers
agree.
out here in the street, they got their pants around their knees. See
Yeah,
our brothers out here in the street, they don't know how to open up. And I'm not talking about all of them. We have some good
right, right.
here who are
Yeah,
doing the right thing. But I'm talking about
yes,
our young brothers that come from the hood where we came from,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
Really can't see outside that neighborhood. Don't know it's another world outside of where they live. And
Yes,
I'm seeing this. And the unfortunate thing, Wes, is this: our brothers are leaving the homes. It's okay. Sometimes relationships and marriages they don't work, right? But what does
absolutely
the
not.
give have to do with that? We still have a responsibility as men, right?
That's right. We can't negate that. You're right.
To take care of them and to raise them, bruh.
Yeah,
is that we had too many of our queens who are playing both roles. The unfortunate part is this: they can't teach them really how to be a man.
Right.
They can
Right.
show him everything what a woman is about, right? They can show
Right.
they how to be a woman, so forth and so on. They doing their best of what they
Yeah.
have. No
Absolutely.
slight on them at all. Because I see
Yeah.
some really good men who turned out pretty good, just raised by
Yes.
them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But just
Yeah.
imagine if the father was involved,
Hmm.
right? There's a reason why God created man and pulled that woman from his rib, right?
That's right.
The
That's
reason.
right.
So again, bro, I just want to thank you, man. I want you to take me through your life. I know you had multiple trajectories in your life that
Yes.
caused you
Yes.
to change paths on multiple occasions, and
Yeah.
then to to what recently happened to your mom, and again another trajectory because you had to adjust again, right?
Yeah.
Because mom is unfortunately passed on. We know she in a good place, but
Oh yeah.
our worldly self say, man, I want my mom back.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I can't really tell you. I know how that feel because I still have both of my parents.
Yes.
Thank you, Jesus, right?
Oh
And they,
yeah. Absolutely.
but if you don't mind, bro, take me
Hmm.
through, your life, man, because you not only you had some health issues, but you're doing the acting thing. I'm trying to figure out how you balance it. You had two sons, right? That
Yeah. Yeah.
show them what a man is all about. You have a
Oh
daughter.
yeah.
You
Oh
got to
yeah.
show her, excuse me, how a man treats a woman, right?
Yes.
We
Absolutely.
play so many roles as
Yeah, we
men.
do. Yeah, we do.
We
Yeah.
do. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not slighting the women. I'm talking about men right now, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Talking about how sometimes we suffer in silence
Yeah,
because
we do.
our ego get in the way. We don't reach out for help.
Yeah.
And we're in that protective mode. We don't want nobody to know that we're hurting, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if you don't mind, bro, go ahead and take the floor, man, and tell me about you.
Uh, well, absolutely right. Now, first and foremost, uh, everyone, as I refer to Mr. Jordan as my big bro, definitely a pleasure being here, and I'm thankful to be asked, to have been asked rather, to be interviewed, and I guess the journey and plight of Rodney Dwayne West. Where can I begin? Like relative to the intro, born and raised in Washington D.C., educated in the District of Columbia public school system. And at an early age, uh, I always knew and I was always taught by my grandfather who raised me, my mother, my great aunt and uncle, Mr. and Mrs. John C. Garner. They were my great aunt and uncle. My dad was there at a young age. My mom and dad, they did part, but my dad was there. So he was not an absent father. Let
Mm-hmm.
me be clear
Mm-hmm.
about that. But of course, as you mentioned earlier, life does change.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dynamic relative to my upbringing did change. Uh, but again, I did have a solid foundation with my mom, my grandfather, my great aunt, uncle. Again, dad was still there, but the dynamic had just changed. At an early age, referring back to my opening statement, I knew that life had much more to offer than where we come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's my opinion and my stance that we all come from a humble beginning and or humble beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
And the mantra that I stand by and I always used, even with my children, life is much bigger than your environment, whether you come from the inner city, whether you come from the suburbs, wherever you come from, there's a big life out there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make a decision, a sound decision to reach for those things relative to what life may have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as I said, grow educated District of Columbia public school system. Attended Calvin Coolidge High School. Now, born and raised on the northeast part of town, One might say, well,
How did you get
Rodney, how did
right?
I get all the way uptown? You
Right.
know, as you well know as well. I guess growing up with everybody on that side of town from birth to high school, having an aunt and uncle who resided uptown DC, um, Piney Branch Road specifically.
Mhm.
Uh, it was one of those things in the back of my mind. I said, well, we're kind of coming into our own, speaking relative to the male species now. You're kind of coming to your own. So, you've been around the same folk and people for so long. So high school is kind of when you're kind of smelling yourself, and that's applicable to male and female. So
Mhm.
you're maturing a little more. You
Mhm.
just want to try something different. So after my mom talked to my aunt, she said, well, okay, well, stay with us for high school. And mind you, at the time, I was working, uh, entering to high school, into Coolidge. I had a part-time job and working and playing sports, football. I played tennis the whole nine. So it was beneficial having a family member who actually stayed 2 minutes down the street, up the street rather, from Coolidge Senior High
Mhm.
School. So after my mom and aunt had spoke, uh, my uncle, we kind of came to a decision that, okay, it's high school years. Hey, he stay with us for high school. But
Mhm.
uh,
Hey,
great relationship with my mom.
how
I'm
did the
still coming
neighborhood
home.
how did the neighborhood
There,
treat you? How
there
did
you
the
go.
neighborhood
Oh,
treat
oh man, Jermaine, let me tell you, man. It was, I think, at that time when we started to transition to high school. I think everybody around that time started to kind of want to kind of do their own thing.
you? Mhm.
And of course, everybody on our side of the town, McKinley Tech,
Mhm.
Dunbar,
Mhm.
and we had a few stragglers who may have attended Cardoza, but mostly, of all people, McKinley and Dunbar.
Correct.
And so, it wasn't, I would say, transitioning to that realm relative to high school, I think it was more so everybody was doing their own thing back then
Mhm.
and maturing, growing up. And
Mhm.
so it did get to a point where I didn't see a lot of folk that often, but I would come home, we would hang out, go where we were going, hang out, go to the shows or whatever we still doing at 15, 16, 17. We were still doing those things. But when I left Northeast, back uptown I go. So
Mhm.
I was immersed in two arenas.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, Northwest referred to as uptown, and then Northeast, our side of the town. So
Mhm.
it was, I would say I was well versed in the city, and I always laugh at it. Folks always
Mhm.
ask me, well, Rodney, what do you claim? And this is what I always say, Northeast raised me, uptown made me. So that's
Mhm.
just something I came up with to kind of
Right.
make light
Right.
being exposed to both. But like I said, back to Rodney West, just a kid with great family values, and I always knew that I wanted something more out of life,
Mhm.
regardless of the circumstances around us. As you know, some chose to indulge in the street life.
Mhm.
Some chose to indulge in the elastic realm, or whatever the case may have been. And again, I've never been one to criticize, but
Mhm.
life is about decisions,
Mhm.
and choices. So even though you're surrounded by these things, you may have entertained some of these things. At minimum, I always knew that life had much more to offer me. So again, I love how we came up. I love the upbringing because that helped make me who I
Mhm.
am today.
Mhm.
I always say, and as the old saying goes, you have to go through something to know something. And
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer of that. So it
Mhm.
matters not where you're raised, uh, the social economic position of family, etc. I just always knew that I wanted more out of life. So fast forward through high school, I participated in a lot of events. Like I said, I played tennis. I was a part of two or three other programs, teachers profession program. Played football. I had an injury at Coolidge. I believe I hurt my knee on the kneecap. and I stepped away from playing football. I believe it was the junior year. I was still working. My grandparents had to help me get a car. So, of course, that was more motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Man, high
Mm-hmm.
school,
With a car.
driving
Mm-hmm.
with a car. So I got a car, 11th grade. I was driving 10th grade, but I didn't have a car. But
Mm-hmm.
that was an agreement. Okay, you're working, you're doing what you're supposed to do. That was kind of a perk. So, young guy, full of himself back then. But, I still stuck around the football team, and I maintained my activities that I was involved in at Coolidge. And senior year, graduation comes about. Like I said, young guy, 17, 18, just coming into your own, anticipating what life has to offer thereafter high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a funny story that I tell all the time. A lot of folks ask me, how did you end up at Norfolk State? Some of my buddies, well, let me back up a little bit. Early in the teenage years, around that time frame, I participated in what they called at the time the Mayor Bears Youth Leadership Institute. You may be familiar. Kimry Hughes, Norm Nixon, um, um, well known in the District of Columbia, scene relative to politics, nonprofit, etc., working with the programs with the youth in the District of Columbia. So my first summer job, I believe I was 14, but thereafter 14, I was introduced to this program. And I believe at the time, it was a 7-week program, the MBYLI. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure a lot of folks who may see the podcast, they can recollect. You stayed the first week on Howard University. We stayed at Drew Hall, first week. The 7th week, final week, you would stay at American University and or Howard University. So it was more of a mentorship program, leadership institute that dealt with a lot of inner city youth. We had different speakers, different companies come in just to kind of introduce society to the inner city youth. And so the MBYLI Institute was an awesome program back then. And going through that program, I met a lot of folk, a lot of DC, a lot of other folks from DC who may have gone to other high schools, Wilson, uh, Roosevelt, Dunbar. A lot of the kids had come from the same area. And
Mm-hmm.
so that program, I took part in that program, I want to say 3.5 years. Of course, when you're getting older, you kind of say to yourself, well, you want to work part-time, but you don't want to really deal with any type of leadership programs because you're kind of, I guess, maturing a little bit. You kind of look at those things that's maybe for the younger kids, when we started 14, 15, 16. So now, 17, 18, you kind of say to yourself, well, I can still relationships with the coordinators, the counselors within the program. But if I have the opportunity to work a summer job, a normal summer job, I'll do that. I don't want to, deal with the program, staying on campus. Not that it was a bad thing, but you're getting just older. You're maturing a little bit. So I met a lot of folks through that program, the MBYLI Institute, which was an awesome program in the District of Columbia. Back to senior year, half day schedule, still working and just anticipating college. And how I ended up at Norfolk State was some of my buddies who went to Woodson High School that I met through the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute. They went to Woodson, Easton High School, and the other high school, I would say on that side of it, Anacostia.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I want to say 12 of us when we kind of made a decision. I had been accepted to 4 universities at that time. So it was one of those things. Well, what school are you going to? What school are you going to? Mind you, we're already hanging. So it's like we can't break the band up, if you will. And so that's how I want to say 9 or 10 of us ended up at Norfolk State. It was just one of those things. What school are you going to? Well, what school are you going to? Well, we're going to Norfolk State. You're going to Norfolk State. And so I just tell that story. Again, I was accepted at 4 universities, but I said, well, okay, I'm going to Norfolk State.
Right.
And so that's how we ended up at Norfolk State.
So look, bro, look. So moving to just you went to Norfolk State, right? And
yes,
graduated with
yes,
degree in communications and theater arts,
yes,
right?
Yes.
What got you
Yes.
into theater arts?
Oh, what got me to theater arts? Well, funny thing, at Coolidge High School, I was never a person who didn't want to help out. Like I said, different programs. I mean, I've just always, I believe, had that knack and niche to kind of participate. I've never had an ego as male man, not to participate. Like I said, I guess it's an ego thing. We're too cool to do something. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
relative to sometimes that's just how we think as men. We're just too cool for everything,
Yep.
and we got to get away from that. But funny thing, we were on the campus, the yard one particular day, and one of the drama, I believe, liaisons had come out. They were having auditions for A Raisin in the Sun.
Mm.
And I had built a great rapport. Again, freshman, mind you, I built a great rapport. I had met one of the drama instructors at the time inadvertently. I did not know the instructor's, i.e., professor's title. I just met him,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, inadvertently. And, I didn't know who he was, his background. And okay, he was, one of the
Mm-hmm.
folks you should know on
Mm-hmm.
campus. So we were outside, with the fellas. And he had walked up and asked, "Well, we having auditions for the Raisin in the Sun, fellas. How's about it? Anybody interested?" So we straight out of DC. Oh man,
I ain't no
we good,
raise.
professor. Oh, absolutely. Nah, I'm not playing no Raisin. So again, the mentality. I mean, we too cool for our own boots here in DC,
Right,
but
right.
we just out there. So he asked, "Well, we having auditions." "Well, Mr. West, what about you?" "I'm good, professor." Come on, man. Come on. So, mind you, we're young freshmen. And so I'm saying to myself, 2 + 2 is 4. I'm sure a lot of young ladies will be there. So let me kind of, it's common sense.
Let me
So
slide in.
let me slide in. Like I said, we still, they love the swag of a DC dude. They love DC wherever we went. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So, I might, may be able to do a little something. So that was my mentality. So I said, "Okay, professor, I come on in and, you know, um, take part in the audition." So I believe it was, I want to say 2 days later, uh, I did at that time what they call a cold read. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm interested in the arena of the arts, but freshman year, you're kind of finding your way and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that.
Yep.
At the time, I was not familiar with the verbiage, um, a cold read, as to what a quote unquote cold read was. A
Mm-hmm.
cold read, for those that may not know, is just a simple way of saying someone's just giving you a script and they just want to see how you articulate, how you read.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be polished, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a cold read. Let's just see where you are.
Mm-hmm.
We can work on the fine details later. And so I commenced to move forward to cold read. And Mr. West, just put a little more, a little more zest to it. So I guess, put my DC thing to it, just being how we are.
Boom.
And
There it is.
yeah, I read for Walter Lee Younger,
Mm-hmm.
The Raisin in the Sun, for all my fellow thespians, actors, etc. You know who Mr. Walter Lee is in A Raisin in the Sun, and I landed the role.
Man,
Ironically, Walter Lee Younger
that's what's
in
up.
A Raisin in the Sun.
That's what's up, bruh. That's what's
Yeah,
up. So
yeah,
you,
absolutely,
so you
absolutely.
graduated Norfolk State.
Yeah,
Come on out, man. You eventually you meet your queen, right?
yes, yes, yes,
Let's talk
yes,
a little bit about your queen, because
yes,
they are vital to who we become for real, for real.
absolutely,
Some men don't
absolutely.
acknowledge it, but
Yeah,
what would we do without them? You
yeah.
know,
I say that. I ask myself all the time, what would I do? I really find myself being blessed. But fast forward, come out of school and meet the Mrs. We had known each other for a few years prior. Of course, we're still young,
hmm
finding our way. Um, the Move past that. We develop a bond. We establish a friendship, and we pursue the relationship factor.
Mm-hmm.
The boys are born. Of course, we're still working, young folks, still trying to find our way
Mm-hmm.
in this world, and life continues to go on. Kids grow. We grow.
Mm-hmm.
We wed in 1999, August 21st, 1999. Boy, I tell you, time is flying. I can't believe it sometimes. And life just and family start to grow. And
Yeah.
we, at that point now, building a family.
Right.
And
You want
I would
to.
say I really find myself blessed in being able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
with such a beautiful woman,
Absolutely.
and
Want to mention
yes.
her name and your kid's name?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My wife, Katrina, my sons, Durante, my son, Jeremy, and my daughter, Jordan,
Jordan.
18-year-old senior,
Wow.
baby of the house.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
you got
yeah,
three
yeah.
grandsons, right?
And three grandsons. I'm sorry, I can't forget my babies.
No, you bet. Now
Dakota.
the door will be locked if you go home. You better-
Absolutely, absolutely. And as much as I make a big fuss,
right.
oh man. But yeah, just to introduce my grandkids, to everyone. Dakota, he's the oldest. Dakota 6. Damani is 3.5, and Johan, the newest addition,
Hmm.
is almost 2 now. He's the baby, doing great, and
Wow.
I'm just thankful for my grandsons. They're very much. When I tell you, I may be a little biased, as we all are sometimes, but they're great, great kids, great
Right.
kids, and the
Congratulations.
benefit. Thank you, and the benefit. I don't want to, jump off subject, but I tease them all the time because um, Dakota and Damani's mom is an educator,
Mm-hmm.
so they always call me Papa. Kind of upset sometimes. I say, "Well, you guys got to understand, Papa can't intervene."
Right.
And that's like a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy, educator.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy, educator. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell them all the time, education is everything. And
Mm-hmm.
Johan's mom, uh, Jeremy's fiance, Johan, the youngest, she's a professional as well. Great, great women
Mm-hmm.
in my son's lives. Great professional women. So I'm very proud in that regard
Right.
that they've had the opportunity to start their families and
Seems
have
seems
great
as
folks.
right. It seems as though Dad has brought them up with some good morals and values that has
Yes,
allowed them to run into these extraordinary women.
yes, yes, yes. I believe so.
So yeah, without a doubt, man. But one of your let me just say major trajectories wasn't just
Yes,
your health issue, but it was a health issue that you had to deal with your wife, that you had
yes,
continue to help her navigate and support her one, not 100%, 1,000%,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
through that as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes, not a problem. I believe I'm transparent. Anyone who knows me, I try to stay as transparent,
Hmm.
as possible. But yes, for those that know and those that may not know, my wife was diagnosed with stage 2. I would say stage 2, stage 3 breast cancer in 2015.
Hmm.
And as we all know, within society, cancer is such a horrible, terrible disease. Who would have thought that we would be dealing with that in the West household?
Hmm.
And it was such a traumatic time
Hmm.
for my family and specifically my spouse, because she is my rock, my supporter, my confidant, my
Hmm.
everything, as a spouse should be.
Right.
And to see her go through that and to be diagnosed was just something that was surprising in of itself. And the only thing I could do was to be her corresponding rock
Hmm.
as her husband, mate,
Hmm.
father, and just to be by her side.
Hmm.
There's no script that you follow,
Right.
metaphorically speaking.
Right.
When you're dealing with something such as that, you just have to do the best you can.
Hmm.
and take it as it comes. But through prayer, treatment, focus groups, uh, help with the family and with the physicians, specialists,
Mm-hmm.
um, her cancer is in remission to date,
Amen. Amen, brother.
2022. And I
Amen.
thank God, absolutely, amen. I thank God for that. But just being by her side, to have a loved one,
Mm-hmm.
you have to go through that to really understand. We could discuss and speak on it, but you have to go through something like that to really understand, to see your loved ones, um, physical attributes change,
Mm-hmm.
the loss of her hair,
Mm-hmm.
um, just everything, the spirit of a person change.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was imperative that I remain steadfast to be her corresponding route, to be there with no
Absolutely.
question uh, and no doubts in my mind that we would make it
Mm-hmm.
through treatment and prayer. And
Absolutely.
like I said, we thank God that to date, the cancer, breast cancer, is in
Amen.
remission.
Amen, brother.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah,
I was following.
appreciate it.
I was following your journey, man. And of course, I was
Yes.
sending prayers up, man.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
all the time.
just knowing that it was gonna be okay for sure.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Absolutely.
going through that, man, the uncertainty of a lot of things, and just like you said, the treatments and how it
Yes.
just deteriorate your body.
Yeah,
Just seeing it was, I know it was heart wrenching for you, but brother, I'm glad you
absolutely.
stood there and you hung in there, and you was just like
Yes.
you said, it was your wife's support, man. That rock that she needed, right?
Yeah.
So, but yes, and also, man, you had a little health issue yourself that ultimately
Yes.
changed your life
Yes. Yes.
mentally and physically
Absolutely.
to the person
Absolutely.
you are today. Want to talk a little
Yes.
bit about
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Once again, transparency is key.
it? Absolutely.
For those who may not know, again, and some know, um, November the 2nd, 2016, I had experienced a massive stroke.
Hmm.
And just taking you through the brief synopsis and overview as to what transpired that particular day. I was feeling a little, not woozy, but just a little dizzy
Hmm.
the particular day. So I just thought it may have been something I ate. At that time, I was a little more stocky. Those who've been following my travel, my workout travels, journey, I was a little stocky, but healthy at that time in 2016. And we were in the vehicle, and my wife's vehicle had these little jazzy, that's how I refer to it, the armrest now. It's like they don't have the old school armrest in vehicles anymore.
Hmm.
They're coming out with this new technology. Everything is aerodynamic, this, aerodynamic, that. So
Hmm.
the entire time that I'm driving, I'm just thinking my elbow is just numb because of the armrest. So we're going to her office this particular morning, and we were driving her vehicle, had to drop it off at the dealer just to get service. And I said, well, dear, we'll drive one vehicle, so it makes no sense driving two. You
Hmm.
having to worry about picking the vehicle up or getting back, coming back, so forth and so on. So as we're driving, the pain started to increase, the
Hmm.
tingling sensation in my elbow. And so she's asking me in the passenger seat, is everything fine? I said, well, no, it's my elbow is kind of tingling. I'm complaining about the armrest, and she must be the armrest. So we continue to drive. We're on the beltway. She finds me at this time now in point, as the traffic is slowing down, I'm starting to stop short. Now, anybody that knows me, I'm a little OCD about everything. So I try to be on point of everything. Stop back, you know, the mentality, the Wamada mentality, my
Hmm.
mentality,
Hmm.
clearance, 10
Hmm.
feet, everything. So, it's so embedded and immersed within, my mentality, like I said, I'm an operator, you know.
Hmm.
So, started to continuously stop short in traffic. So she asked me, was I fine? I said, well, I think I'm fine. I'm okay. Mind you, I was still operating the way that I just described. My elbow is still hurting.
Hmm.
At this point, she's communicating with me, but I'm kind of incoherent. My responses are all over the place.
Hmm.
So she's kind of, are you okay? Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Almost to the office. I started to rub my head and face. I felt a little fatigued. I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming it was a headache. So, I'm taking my glasses off as such, and I'm rubbing my forehead, and she's talking to me. I'm still with her
Mm-hmm.
relative to the conversation, but I'm still not together
Mm-hmm.
from what she was telling me at the time. And so we get to the office. Of course, the federal security and the marshals are there. I get out the vehicle. I tell her we're there. We pull up, and from the building, I have to use the restroom. Mind you, at this time, I didn't know that the stroke was coming on. So
Mm-hmm.
I get out of the vehicle. I rush out of the vehicle, but at this time, still out of it. That's what she told me. I
Mm-hmm.
was a little worse than previously.
Mm-hmm.
So I get out of the vehicle. The federal officers say, they speak to me, "Hey, Mr. West, how you doing?" They later tell me that when I got out of the vehicle, I looked at the officers as if to say, "Who the hell are you?"
Right.
With a bewildered look.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other marshals recognized something may be wrong with me medically. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see it. I
Mm-hmm.
was feeling it, cognizant of it, but they saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to use the restroom. I later learned in the midst of having a stroke come on, which is when the clotting is starting to take place going to the brain
Mm-hmm.
through your internal system. Having a stroke come on, it makes you feel as if you have to use the restroom. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a burning sensation within. With men, not sure with women, but learning in my focus groups, that's just one of the symptoms. It just makes you want to use the restroom. So I rush to the restroom. And so at this time, I kind of feel myself a little sluggish now in the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, not to get too graphic, but of course, as we all know, that men, when we're using the stall, we have to stand up. So they had one of these, I want to say, automatic sinks that when you put your hand under, it's operated by sensor.
Mm-hmm.
I had enough strength to kind of lean, to kind of gather a little water and splash my face because now
Mm-hmm.
I feel something. And I'm saying to myself subconsciously, Wes, there's something going on.
Right.
There's something going on.
Right.
And so I gather myself. I look in the mirror. I didn't really see anything. I didn't recognize it
Mm-hmm.
when I had come out of the restroom. They say that I was walking to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, relative to what I mentioned before, the other U.S. Marshal with the federal officer had noticed something medically going on.
Right.
At this time, my wife was conferring with them, but I was in the restroom. So
Mm-hmm.
they had already moved forward to calling emergency services. When I
Wow.
had come out, I started to walk to the side,
Wow.
and I could have almost either fell in or fainted, but they had
Wow.
already called the emergency services. So I had the onset of a massive stroke
Wow. Look at you now,
taking
bro.
place at that time.
Look at you now.
Yeah,
Saying
I
that
thank
right
God.
there made you
Yeah,
get on track for whatever
yeah,
caused it.
yes,
I know your whole motto now is to eat right and to exercise. I know
absolutely,
we have our cheat
absolutely.
days for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mine's tomorrow.
Look, we all have them. I work
Yeah.
out
Oh yeah.
constantly, and
Oh yeah.
I got my little, what they call under the pillow treat, right?
Oh
That
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I got to have that piece of chocolate because I'm a chocolate
Yeah.
fiend. So,
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
but yeah, man, I've been following your journey, bro, and
Yes.
I see from whence you came to
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
are, right?
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Andre. Absolutely.
Great, great,
Absolutely.
great feeling, man. You're looking good,
Yeah.
bro. You're doing your thing, man. It's amazing, bro. Let me just say
Now
that.
thank you. I
Let me ask
appreciate it.
you
I
a
thank
question.
you.
So you got a tattoo on the side of your head. Let's talk about that. Cause is that
Okay.
something you
Okay.
live by? Cause that's something that's that we can see each and every day. Cause it's obvious that you want somebody to know exactly who you are. So tell me a little bit about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like my wife, she teases me all the time. She asked me a couple of years ago, "Dear, are you going through midlife crisis?" I said, "Dear." I said, "Apparently, it must have hit me, and we all go through this, whether it be male or female."
Right.
So I would say, I've been those who know me, I'm a pretty much conservative guy. I've always been conservative, pretty much. a little edgy, but more so conservative. And so the tattoo, I guess we kind of rewind the tape a little bit. The reason why I thought it was kind of okay, let's try something different. I was working on a project maybe 4 years ago when I stepped into the realm. 2017, 5 years ago, I started wearing the mohawk type of haircut. And so others asked, well, Wes, I remember you used to put the little taper in the. I said, well, I was working on a project. It calls for a different type of edgy look. And so I just stuck with it. Relative to the tattoos, I always thought that my position and opinion, if you get something relative to artwork, tattoo, it has or tattoo, it has to mean something to you. It has to be relevant to something versus just someone slapping something on you. And again, I don't criticize. I'm not hypocritical, to each his own. But for me personally, if I chose to step across that threshold and to acquire tattoos, artwork, it had to mean something to me. And so the mantra that I have that some folks see all the time on a regular basis, it says, true Renaissance man who walks with faith and purpose. And that's my mantra that I came up with, and I try to abide by and walk by. And that's definitely, I would say, true to me. Not labeling myself that per se, but I've had family, what they would always say, you're a Renaissance man. Even my mom would say, my mom would always say, boy, you're a Renaissance man. You always got something going on. You're always doing something. So when I kind of came up with that, I said, okay. And I guess it was midlife crisis, like the missus said. Let me get a tattoo. And of course, folks know me. Where's she got a tattoo on your head? I call it the chameleon haircut relative to the mohawk. Because if I go back to how I used to wear my hair, which was a low taper or fade, you won't see the tattoos. So it's kind of, I call it the chameleon. If I choose to let my hair grow back, you will never see the tattoos. But back to acquiring the artwork, I just thought that if I get something and acquire something, it had to mean something to me. And everything that I have relative to the artwork, tattoos per se, they represent a part of my life. Good. And that's just, a decision I chose. We all different in this world. Who would have thought years ago? Again, I've always been conservative, but I guess it is a midlife crisis.
Right,
the kids are older.
Right.
Like I said, been married for some years.
Right.
Time, let me ride my Harley. Let me, just kind of do some of these things. So again, I just chose to, if I acquired, the artwork, it would be something that represents me, my life and family relative to the tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I wanted to know what it meant. Already, had an idea, but I want you to be able to articulate
Absolutely.
and to my viewers for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm, they don't know, that you and I knew each other. We grew up, but my dad knew your mom. Right? I'm glad that we reconnected, and I must say this little story that I see you walking down the hall, you see me walking on. I'm like, what the hell you doing
here? Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Your family, I mean, your dad grew up with my whole family. Isn't that something?
Yeah. And it was such a pleasure, man. We sat there and chopped it up for a minute, exchanged numbers or whatever. But the thing, of it is that life is a circle, man. You eventually run back into your friends and the people that you met along the way.
That's right.
But as I said, my dad knew your mom, and the unfortunate thing, another trajectory in your life, because I don't know what it's like to lose a parent.
Yes, I appreciate the regard.
Just recently here.
Yes.
And I know that losing a parent is difficult. Somebody that raised you, somebody that you were tight with. I mean, tight with. I mean, I can't say
absolutely. My mother, absolutely
tight with you. Talk a little bit about your mom, Carolyn, man.
Yeah. Well, my mom, Carolyn M. Smith. What can I say? My mom was everything to me.
And she was
course, like
best,
you mentioned. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, our families having grown together. Um, my mother and I always refer to us, my mom and I, as the mother and son, Bonnie and Clyde.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because those that know, when you see my mom, you see me. You
Mhm.
see me, you see my mom.
Yep.
And excuse me. And those that know my mom, she loved to shop. She loved to She loved to go to the grocery store, me tagging along. She would get me to drive all the time, but my mom she was just an outgoing spirit. For those who knew my mom and didn't know my mother, Carolyn M. Smith, was an outgoing person. She loved to travel. She was
Right.
always going on a trip somewhere.
Right.
And my mother was everything. She was just one of those spirits that she was just on the go. She was on
Mhm.
the go
Mhm.
and on the go type of woman,
Mhm.
person, spirit.
Mhm.
That was my mom. And
Mhm.
to lose her to cancer,
Mhm.
in sharing, my mom was fighting lymphoma,
Mhm.
and she fought for over a year, fighting that nasty disease. And when it took a toll on her health over the past year prior to her departure, that was tough because it was hard to not see my mom so rambunctious,
Mhm.
on the move, doing the things that she likes to do.
Mhm.
Again, if you know my mom, she was at the hair salon every 2 weeks. She did not miss an appointment. My mom was very stylish. For those who don't know my mom and know my mom, I would say my mom could dress herself
Mhm.
together and down, however you want to say it. My mother could dress if
Right.
you knew my mom. So to not see her be able to do those things was such a heartfelt and hurtful thing for me
Mhm.
because of our bond.
Mhm.
As the lymphoma progressed, she lost her hair through relative, I'm sorry, in regards to the chemo and the treatment. Her hair started to fall out. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, you know, uh, my opinion, I said, well, you're fine either way. You have
Mhm.
the right shaped head for a natural haircut. But of course, she's so used to going to the
Right.
salon, she didn't want to hear these things. So I'm just trying to be that son, that supportive mechanism for her to say, Mom, either way, you're still beautiful. You'll be
Mhm.
all right.
Mhm.
So we got through treatment as best we could, as best she could. And her hair started to grow back. And the first thing she said, well, my hair grows back. I want to dye my hair and go back to the hair salon. I said, Mom, I teased her. You were just finishing treatment. You're talking about the hair salon already.
Right.
But that
Right.
was my mom. She was just full of, full of joy and full of vigor.
Right.
And she was able to go to the salon, continue that, whole thing, enjoying herself, being able to move a little more. But we did not know that the lymphoma had started to progress.
Mhm.
And so it was like a rewinding tape.
Right.
We were moving forward. Now we're starting to reverse a little bit. Her health started to diminish
Right.
rapidly.
Mhm.
And she fought, I would say, from August, September, she fought. She had to be hospitalized twice prior to her departure, rather. And she fought up until then. My mom was, I guess, moving forward, my mom was revived and resuscitated twice at Arlington, I'm sorry, Virginia Hospital,
Mhm.
twice,
Wow.
due to the progression of the cancer. And thereafter, we had talked, and it got to the point where these conversations did not want to be entertained, but she was very much aware that we have to talk about the final protocols if, in fact, things don't change. But it was never able to get to that point because my mom had to be hospitalized um, in regards to me mentioning being resuscitated. So we didn't have the opportunity to move forward with further protocol.
Right. Wow.
She was placed on a breathing machine, and with my family, myself, the grandkids, it was advised that things are just taking a toll. They're progressing to where treatment um, is
That.
not an option anymore. It's not. It's just becoming. It's just becoming procedure
Mm-hmm.
versus treating
Mm-hmm.
the disease. And the 28th of October, my family and I, we were there with my mom. And it's still hard for me to talk about, discuss, but again, it's
Absolutely.
no
Absolutely.
problem in doing so. That particular day, I would read the Bible to my mom
Mm-hmm.
because she was on the breathing machine. She was conscious in and out, but then sometimes she was sedated. So she loved Rance Allen
Mm-hmm.
gospel group. So every day I would visit my mom. I would play her gospel music. I would read her favorite scriptures and passages in the Bible. This was every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, console her, talk to her, comfort her as much as I could. Because at this time and point, um, things are just becoming more detrimental day by day.
Right.
And
Right.
this one particular day, the 28th of October, I sat up there maybe 5 or 6 hours. She was still on the breathing machine. She had lost consciousness, and I would rub her cold rag and just, talk to her still, reading the
Mm-hmm.
passages and playing her favorite gospel tunes, and gave her a kiss. I always tell her something that we will always say your prayers when we part from one
Mm-hmm.
another.
Mm-hmm.
And, after doing so, I go home to rest, not because of fatigue, but just kind of gathering myself for the next day's visit.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a call at 11:17 prompt on the 28th of October that my mom had passed.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, yeah, it was rough for me, but bro, it was rough.
Yeah,
And
man.
I don't think anybody, and again, I'm not ashamed at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ashamed at all. Like I said, I just tell folk the loss of a mother is like no other.
Yep. Yep.
The loss of a mother is like no other. But
Mm-hmm.
I had, I was so hysteric a little bit. My wife was there, and I said, "Well, dear, I just got to go." She didn't want me driving because I was just upset. But I
Mm-hmm.
gathered myself and leaned on my faith and prayer. I got to the hospital. They had her on the 8th floor um, in the unit to where when they take you off the machines. There's a special unit that they have folks who was just when it's inevitable that transition is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, near. And I sat and talked to her before family got there, and tucked her in, talked to her, and family had got there, and it was just a hard thing. But my mother fought,
Yeah,
my
man.
mother fought, big bro.
Yeah,
My
bro.
mother fought.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
This that
yeah,
we've been lifting you up, man. I've been walking
yes,
through with you, bro. And
yeah. And I appreciate everybody. Really, I do. I really
my
appreciate
dad said he
everybody.
went to the service, man. He said he made sure that you knew he was there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
my mom and your mom, excuse me, were tight. And
Yeah,
he told me they saw you there, and what what you know,
yeah, yeah.
felt good to me that he represented for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was happy to see
For
him.
sure.
Yeah, been a while. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that that you lean on your spiritual faith, brother,
yeah,
because you know, to be absent from the body is to be present from the Lord. So I know Saint Peter had opened those gates for her for sure, because she was showing up
oh
an
yeah,
angel on this earth.
oh yeah,
Um, you know, yeah, it was hurtful. It was hurtful, bro. So I just know that I
yeah,
was for you, and I'm glad that your mom. You said that your mom would want you to live your best life, continue to live your
yes,
best. Sure.
yes,
And that's one thing you do, bro. You live your
yeah,
best. And you,
yeah,
I see you everywhere. I see you
Yeah,
everywhere. I haven't heard not one bad word about you, man. You know how sometimes
yeah, I
when
appreciate it, big bro. Thank you.
everybody see you, everybody know you, something
Yeah,
one person got something bad to say, right?
yeah,
I haven't heard not one, not even, in the professional arena. I haven't
yeah.
heard not one bad thing about you, bro. So I just
I
want to say,
appreciate
man,
it.
continue to do what you do, bro. I want to have you on for a reason, right?
Yeah, I really
I
appreciate it. I
know,
really
I know,
do.
I know the fire that you walk through. Not just you, not just your wife, your mom, and other things that men face throughout life, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely. Right.
for you to still be here standing tall and representing, I want to give
Yeah,
you flowers here. Now, man, I want to be able to say, bruh, thank you. Standing ovation, you know, just let you know,
uh,
man, it's it's men like you that make this world go round. Whether you
yeah. I
know it or
appreciate it, Andre. Thank you for the regard. I definitely appreciate it. To be
absolutely.
recognized, to be recognized on your platform, to be asked, I definitely appreciate it. I just thank you. Because again, you know, like you mentioned, we just live in a world where there's no empathy, there's no regard, there's no respect, there's no humility. It's pretty much none of that, and we just in different spectrums. It's like obsolete now.
Mhm.
From my upbringing with family and how we were raised without families knowing one another. I don't do anything for show. And when I post things via social media, sometimes I never do things for show. I just try to show us in a different light.
Transparency, bro.
That's my Absolutely. That's my only focus. If you know
Hmm.
me, I don't do anything for show. I don't
Hmm.
do anything for arrogant standpoint. I mean, folks know what I'm involved in. If I'm posting, it's relative to family. It's relative to, the arts arena because this is what I'm involved in. This is what I love, and I paid my dues, and I'm still paying my dues. So I just try to show us in a different light. I don't do it for notoriety.
Right.
The recognition is well appreciated. Everybody
Hmm.
wants to be recognized, but I
Hmm.
just thank folks for recognizing me, for
Right.
supporting, for having a kind word. Again, it's all for family and showing things in a different light.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right. No, I appreciate it, man. And I just want to thank
absolutely.
you again for joining me, man, and sharing
Thank
your
you. Thank you. I
about your
appreciate it.
life, man, and
Yes,
continued success, man, in the acting arena, man. I
I
know
will.
you
Thank you.
traveling, traveling mercies on you, brother.
Thank
I'm
you.
always here for you if you need me, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
I'm
know.
glad that
Absolutely.
God ran us past each other path again, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. Hold on a minute, man. After this, I'm gonna
Okay.
chop it up.
Okay. We'll do.